Microsoft provides some database design basics that I think you should take a look at before you start working on building out the database capability. This article lays out some of the basics in terms of how databases are designed with tables, records, and fields. But it also provides some good ideas on how you should think through what you're building before you start actually building it. So what makes up a good database design is step one is figuring out what the purpose is of what it is that you're designing for. Who are you building it for? Why can't they do something in a different system? Why do you need this additional tool to perform your daily functions? And what do you think you need to accomplish within it? Who's going to touch it? And again, trying to minimize the amount of data that is being collected outside of systems of record is something that you should try and minimize. But once you've gotten to that point where you feel that you have a requirement that requires a database, you then want to start to figure out what information you require and then divide that information into tables so that you're not repeating information in any single table, but that you spread the information across multiple tables. So as an example, the soldier table or maybe a contacts table would hold information that has a one-to-one relationship to that record. For example, a soldier's eye color or hair color should not change or normally doesn't change. Additionally, if there's information that you don't necessarily care about what the last value was, like when somebody's CAT card expired and what the next date is, then you could put all of that information on the record with the soldier's information. However, if you need to understand or store information against that person, against that soldier that has a one-to-many relationship, that information would be best served in its own table. As an example, one soldier could have one or multiple dependents that's associated with them. Better to store that information in a separate database table, as opposed to the Excel version where you would create multiple columns of information for each dependent. Same thing with POVs. A soldier can have one or multiple POVs that you might want to know information about. You may want to know that the soldier was in one organization and then moved to another one, say moved from squad 1, 1st platoon to headquarters and then back to somebody else, and understand that when that occurred over time, start date, end date. Same thing with evaluations. You probably want to know the full evaluation information about the individual as opposed to just when the last one was, and replacing that information as new ones got published. Same thing with same context with phone numbers, email addresses, where an individual's record could have one or multiple phone numbers and email addresses. These are good opportunities to store this information in related tables. The other piece of information that you also want to think through as you're designing is how you want to segment the information. So who gets visibility of the database information? Can 1st platoon see 2nd platoon's data? Maybe they can see some of it, like who's in the other platoons, but maybe they can't see all of it, like family member information or certain portions of family member information. Same thing. Can the FRG get into the system and view information? And if so, can they see all of it, or are they restricted to certain pieces of information? Who's got permissions to change the data, and how are you going to control that? Soldiers you might want it set where the changes are centralized, or you may want to build a capability that allows soldiers or select members of the organization to log in and make changes. That will affect how we build, design, and set up the tables, and where we set up the tables within your architecture. And then what do you want to do with PII and PHI information? If you're going to store it and you've got the authority to store it, you do want to ensure that you minimize it if you do make that choice, and then make sure that that information is appropriately marked as you allow people to access it and potentially print it, if that's something that you're going to set up. And so this sets the framework then for taking a look at what you've built out already, and we'll move into this discussion in a subsequent video.